Good morning. My name is Baba S. Trame. I am Deputy Auditor General, Admin and Finance, National Audit Office.
The rest of you were here last time?
Yes.
Okay. Then, honorable members, those who are not here last time.
Good morning. My name is Honorable Katsha, man for Parliamentary Constituency and a member of this committee.
Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Kebalam Fufani.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Honorable Musa Cha, member of the Electoral Committee.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, IEC and National Audit. And I also observe Madam Secretary, Commissioner, one of the commissioners of IEC who joined us did not take the, or probably she may need to contribute if you can administer that as well.
George, hereby affirm. Hereby affirm. I speak the truth, the truth, so help me Allah.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, now we can proceed to item number 4, and that's the main item on the agenda that has to do with the consideration of the special audit reports of the Independent Electoral Commission for the period 1st January 2020 to 30th December 2023. You could recall last week also when we met, the third report was presented, and today is set aside for the consideration. The format of the consideration has to do with the findings, recommendation, and there will invite the management to respond to the issues that are raised by the auditors, of course, as it is entailed in the report. So can we start? We go straight to page 17. The first one is on 3.1.1, where the finding revealed that the revenue was 8,274,150 collected by IEC from the party registrations, nomination deposit, replacement of voters were not remitted to the consolidated revenue fund, but instead were retained in their commercial bank accounts, as indicated in the table. And that has been recommended that the IEC should provide explanation as to why these revenues collected by the institution during the period under review were not remitted to the consolidated fund. Management.
Honorable Chairman, members of the Finance Audit and Accounts Committee, members of the National Audit Office represented here. In the interest of time, so as not to waste the valuable time of this August Assembly, I just, by way of introduction, wish to state that as a commission, we did look at all the questions and responses initially provided by the commission colleagues, and we still stand by those responses unless there are some additional questions. This is just by way of introduction for all the queries that have been raised. If we stand by the same responses that were provided and which are documented. And the other thing I wanted to say is that we find some of the recommendations very helpful and useful, and we have started already implementing them. But for the others, we still stand by the responses provided. And I would want to make another, because for example, when you're asking us about the terms of reference of commissions, I think that will go back to the Constitution. It is there. We are not going to reinvent the wheel for that. So that, the point I'm making here is that at times some of the recommendations, some of the observations speak to the fact that perhaps there is a glaring lack of understanding of the working of the IEC. But for the others, we stand by the responses. For another example that I can cite is the issue about seeking clearance for an independent institution, not a civil service, not part of the civil service, but part of the public service, to travel outside of the country. The work of the Commission is premised on the principles of integrity and accountability, which we all cherish. And we appreciate the important work that you do to hold us accountable. And it is in that vein that I'm saying that we stand by our responses and we'll go point by point, but in the interest of time, I don't think there is any new element that is going to be added to the responses that are already documented that have been provided by the IEC, unless the honorable members of this esteemed body have some additional questions to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that remarks and observation. Vice Chair, that is between NAO and the Independent Electoral Commission when they are doing their audit exercise. When the report is submitted to the National Assembly, the onus lies now on the National Assembly to take both sides on the report. That's why the first day we allowed the National Audit to present their report formally, even though we have a document. But on the report now, let them present the report. What IEC responded in the text, IEC will also be given that opportunity to formally respond as contained in the text. Then there, the members will try to strike a balance and then see whether there are issues that are pending or otherwise, and where we have further comments after the response of the Independent Electoral Commission. If there are new developments on the side of the IEC, IEC would avail that to members. And the Independent National Audit may also have the opportunity to respond. As it stands, what is the position around that particular matter? Whether it has been resolved or not, that has to be decided here. But that cannot be decided outside. But that has to be mentioned or decided here. Then the members will take that. That is the procedure. Officially and formally, the National Audit will present report, and then IEC will be responding as contained in the report, and members will take both sides through whether the issues have been addressed or otherwise. So that's the procedure. We are conscious of the time aspect, and that's why I'm trying to even summarize instead of reading the details. So that's the procedure.
No, thank you very much. That's it, and thank you very much for that clarification, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of this Executive Committee, and members. So, that said, I will give the floor now to our Director of Finance to respond to the questions one by one.
The response also will take this format as it is in the text, your management response in the text. That's what we are going to read.
Exactly.
And if we have questions around that, then we'll also ask those questions.
Proceed.
Then we can proceed.
Response for 3.121. It says the IEC has never limited forms collected from consolidated revenue forms since its inception. they refer to sections 42.8 and 43.3 of the Constitution of the Gambia and section 10.2.8 of the Election Act. Next.
And when you refer to that, the National Audit also has follow-up or other comments. Audit?
Auditors comment. The relevant section included in your management responses relate to the functional duties of IEC, but not with regards to management of finances. The IEC is a public institution and hence is covered within section 150 of the Constitution and section 7, subsection 3 of the Public Finance Act requires the Commission to remit all revenues collected to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. Therefore, the issue remains unresolved up to the time of finalizing this management letter.
IEC may refer the auditors to the relevant section of the Constitution as the basis for the reason why the said funds were not remitted to the Consolidated Fund. And the National Audit also responded that those were on functional duties of IEC, but not on the basis of financial management. IEC also comment on that.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Still, I want to hold on to section 10.2a and of the Elections Act. You guys, the IEC in the Code of Election, in the Code of Elections. And that section, Elections Act section 10.2a.
Election, can you use the mic?
Elections Act, section 10.2a. And it reads, the IEC shall keep A, its funds in such bank as it may determine.
In such bank
As it may determine. Yes, that's what the section is saying. This shows that the Commission does not need to remit any funds to the central revenue, central revenue, consolidated fund, but rather it can keep its funds in a bank as it may determine, according to this section.
as it may determine. IEC shall keep fund in such bank as it may.
The Commission shall keep its funds in such bank as it may determine. We can provide with the Elections Act.
Yeah, but could he clarify how funds are interpreted, funds and revenues are interpreted in that act? Because the audit query is about revenues.
All revenues are classified as funds. That is what is received by an IEC. And once revenues are received from funds of the IEC, which is kept in a bank carried by the IEC.
As per the PFM, Public Finance Manual, Section 22, states about retention and spending of self-raised revenues. So we're going by that provision of the PMF Act.
Can you read that provision?
Yeah, I can read it.
Can you respond?
Who was the Public Finance Act? Yeah, let's make reference to, because that is what the, can you read that?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. The PMF Section 22, retention and spending of departmental self-raised revenues.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Just allow me to read this. Honorable Chair, the minimum made reference to Section 22 of the Public Finance Act, which is retention and spending of departmental self-raised revenue. So to be specific, which subsection do you want? Because we have 1, 3, and 4, or do you want me to? Okay. Chair, I will read. Section 22(1). The minister may, pursuant to the provisions of Section 152B of the Constitution, and an act of the National Assembly, permit a budget agency to retain and spend part of whole of its departmental self-raised revenue in support of government budget programs. Subsection 2. The minister may grant permission under subsection 1 on conditions that the revenue and their associated expenditures are included in the appropriation bill documents. And subsection 3 reads, the minister shall, using the standard budget classifications, add a separate column to the revenue and expenditure tables in the appropriation bill document to show the amount of departmental self-raised revenues and their associated expenditures for each budget agency for approval by the National Assembly. And subsection 4 reads, if the departmental self-raised revenue exceeds the amounts recorded in the appropriation bill documents, the minister may permit a budget agency to spend and report to him or her the additional revenue pursuant to some specific provisions of Part 5. Okay, so, remember?
Yeah.
What specific reference did you want to make?
It's showing you how to administer self-raised revenues. They have to be in the appropriation bill as well for them to be legit.
Mr. Chairman, in response to that query, I find that query very interesting in the sense that you're referring to your own act, whilst we are guided by our own acts, which tell me which takes precedence here. Because our act is very clear. And if you go back to the Constitution and even to our letters of appointment as members of the Commission, we're supposed to be guided by these three fundamental documents.
You're supposed to be guided by?
The Constitution, the Elections Act, and the Local Government Act, and any other regulations that may be enacted by the IEC to complement any lacuna or gaps. I appreciate what you're talking about, the budgeting process, but I think this speaks to what I was saying today, that there is a gap in the understanding of the functioning of the IEC, with all due respect to what my colleagues have. I listened to what you said, but to go into greater detail, I will allow my colleague, Commissioner Lamin Cham, to address the point I'm trying to make.
So I think that there's a question the honorable member raised. Can you respond to those questions first then?
What was the question that you raised?
Honorable Cham?
What was the question?
Normally, since those departmental self-raised revenues are public funds, yeah, they have to go through the dictates of the Public Finance Act. And it is very clear about what the Public Finance Act is saying about departmental self-raised revenues.
No, thank you very much. Before I go back to the floor to Lamin, but that is what I'm saying here. Treating the IEC as just another ministry or department, forgetting that we have also our acts, the legal enactments that underpin our work to ensure that there is transparency and integrity that in all that we're doing. We're not saying that what you're saying is not relevant, but you need to know exactly that the IEC is not just another civil service agency or ministry. I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to put across. Let me please take a look.
Any supplementary on that, Honorable Cham?
Can I comment?
You have any supplement, John?
Yeah, okay. Like, as he rightly said, but as per when it comes to finances and revenues of government, these are public funds. You are dealing with public funds. That is why you are accountable to the National Assembly. And this is what the Public Finance Act is saying. All self-raised revenues should be disclosed to the Minister of Finance. And there is also a need for a request for a permission to expend those monies. And this is not what obtained in this case.
I just wanted to ask a question. If we act contrary to our own legal enactments guiding our work, you are very mindful that we should be law compliant and respect all the rules of the nation, because as an independent electoral commission, a body that is charged to organize elections with limited resources, means, and with staff dedicated, bending over backwards to make sure that they deliver and make sure that they contribute to the peace and stability of this country. Honestly, I think we cannot be found wanting in that area. For me, as a retired UN official, any act of corruption is a violation of human rights. And any presumed act of misdoing, wrongdoing, the person or the institution concerned should be held accountable. We are not deviating from that. But what our paramount concern is acting within the presence of the legal enactments guiding our work. And I want to emphasize that. We have not deviated from that. Perhaps we can draw lessons from what you have said and to make sure that we improve, as you did. The audit report made some suggestions about the management of funds and all that stuff, and that we took on board the issue of getting a human resource officer, legal officer, all that. These are positive recommendations that we took on board because we are taking them with an open mind. Because the interest is to move forward and make sure that we deliver in a very transparent, accountable, and acting manner and acting with integrity. Nothing short of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, before coming with my question, I just want to lay a foundation. Chief, there are no inconsistencies in the law. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. The Public Finance Act is not the law of the National Assembly. It guides the public finance framework of the entire government machinery. Any law that is inconsistent with the two is null and void. So at this juncture, what we need to do is reconcile the Elections Act, Section 2A, against the Constitution and the Public Finance Act. And to do that, my question, I will start with NAO, because they did respond to you. They said the Elections Act, Section 10.2A that you quoted refers to the functional duties of IEC. Whereas the finance is covered by Section 150 of the Constitution. This is what NAO said. So here, what I will do is tell NAO to expand on that. When we are ready, we will give you the opportunity to respond and tell us why do you believe the Elections Act supersedes that. From there, we will be able to have a pathway to say this is what needs to be done. Okay? So, Chair, with your permission, NAO leaders on that.
The first part of your question, or the first part, is about NAO making that first clarification and elaborate,
please,
on what they have just said. NAO.
Okay, I'll give the floor to the director to expand on that. But before that, I just want to say that Public Finance Act is binding on all public institutions, including the oversight institutions, like NAO and IEC. Exactly. Exactly. Thank you.
Honorable members, may I refer you to page 17 where we explain the criteria. Page 17
of what?
The management, yes, the report.
Okay. 17 of the report.
Yes.
Yes.
There are various sections quoted, ranging from the Constitution, the Public Finance Act, and Section 710 of the Public Finance Act. Maybe, with your permission, can I read, Honorable Chair?
Okay.
Section 150 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia also states, there shall be a consolidated fund into which shall be paid the fund. A. All revenues or other monies raised or received for the purpose of or on behalf of the government. And B. Any other money raised or received in trust for or on behalf of the government. Section 7, Part 3 of the Public Finance Act 2014 states, pursuant to the provision of Section 150 of the Constitution, there shall be a consolidated fund into which shall be paid all revenues or money raised or received for the purpose of or on behalf of the government, and any other monies raised or received in trust or on behalf of the government. Furthermore, Section 710 of the Public Finance Act also states, restriction on withdrawals from extra budgetary fund or departmental raised revenue. Money shall not be withdrawn from any extra budgetary fund or departmental raised revenue unless the minister has authorized the issue of that money. For in a nutshell, the Public Finance Act and the Constitution's guides as to how we should utilize revenue public fund. So any other, like Honorable Co-Finance mentioned, other laws, secondary laws, cannot supersede what we have in the Public Finance Act, because it's the overriding act when it comes to public finances. Thank you.
Well, where is this for the purpose of or on behalf of the government? If the money is raised for or on behalf of the government, would that imply in the case of public institutions? If you raise money, you are doing so on behalf of the government as a public institution. Is that the interpretation?
Yes.
So if IEC in any way raise funds, they are doing so on behalf of the government. And that's why the Constitution is implying that should be paid in the consolidated fund. So that's the interpretation. And this is the legal position that we are taking. IEC?
Yes, Honorable Chair. What to refer to Section 43.3 of the same Constitution.
Section?
43.3 of the Constitution of the Republic of Gambia.
43.3. 43.3, okay.
Where it says, in the exercise of its function and any other law, the Commission shall not be subject to the direction of control of any other party or
Yes, but 43.3 reads, honorable members, in the exercise of its functions under this Constitution or any other law, the Commission shall not be subject to the direction or control of any other person or authority. Control, direction, or control. The government or any other entity cannot direct you, or they cannot control you. And anyhow, is this where you are implying that is it operational or managerial?
Operational independence.
It's operational independence.
Honorable Chair, you cannot divorce finance from operations. All operations are funded and financed. Without finance, operation will woefully fail, election will not be conducted. And the decision of its operation is put with finance by of the IEC.
Yes, Honorable Forman, you want to comment?
I strongly believe that Section 43.3 is speaking to the operational independence of IEC. And there can be no operational independence if you don't have accountability and transparency. in the process of accountability and transparency, no one is dictating you. That speaks to the heart and fabric of what? The Constitution. That's why the same Constitution is mandating the NAO to account for, to audit the books of the government of the Gambia, the courts, the National Assembly, and all independent institutions with a specific time frame. So I think the questions that are asked here is not in any way intended to punch the independence of the IEC. And the questions that were asked by the auditors, were not intended to puncture the independence of the IEC. And to further that, Honorable Chair, I have a question for the Finance Director. The extra funds, this 8 million, were they disclosed in your budget when you were doing bilaterals of the National Assembly? Did you disclose your internally generated funds?
This 8 million includes party registration. We could not ask that there is going to be party registration.
Thank you.
So we cannot disclose.
You cannot forecast it. Your entire operational cost that you were using, who approved that? Who approved your operational cost? Where was your operational cost approved? By the National Assembly. And that is established by law. So the law is cognizant of that. The Constitution knows that, apart from what is being appropriated on the floor of the Parliament, departments and agencies can raise internal revenue. And that is why there is a legal framework to guide the use of those internal revenue. So I believe what we need to do is to look at the substance of what is happening. Yes, there's an Elections Act, but did you reconcile that against the spirit of the Constitution? If you read section 150, there are guidelines as to what needs to be done. If you look at the intent, did you look at the intent of the members when they were passing that particular section 10.2? So, I strongly believe that as IEC we need to admit this very point. This applies to everybody. NAO is an independent institution. The National Assembly is an independent institution. But all of these institutions make sure that their actions are consistent with the Public Finance Act. When it comes to finances, that is it. So unless and until the IEC brings in other substantive issues that might vary the evidence that is presented by NAO, but if not, Honorable Chair, I believe the auditor's observations are on point. Thank you.
The supremacy of the Constitution is established in the law, and where the Constitution also raised the Public Finance Act in the very Constitution, then that means the Public Finance Act, if there's contradiction with any other law, will also have the supremacy on that law, because it is the Constitution that directed the Public Finance Act. So in that case, any law that is in contravention to the Public Finance Act as directed by the Constitution would also be null and void. Yes, Chair?
Can I ask my CEO to respond to that? Because they have our own system.
Yes, you can.
I think the Commission will not agree on that point, in the sense that we take note of the supremacy of the Constitution.
Can you use the mic?
Yes, I am saying the Commission does not agree on that point, because we take note of the supremacy of the Constitution as the model law of all laws. However, for the Public Finance Act, which is a subsidiary law, like the Elections Act, then there is a conflict. So the proposal is, let's review the Elections Act vis-a-vis the Public Finance Act. Because in the conduct of election, the first law we use apart from the Constitution is the Elections Act. So this is where we rely on our actions of not sending the revenue or the funds received to the central revenue, central revenue fund. So I will humbly, on behalf of the Commission, ask this Honorable National Assembly to consider amending that section 10(2)(a) of the Elections Act. Because in the conduct of election, we are expected to force refer to the Constitution and the Elections Act. Anyway, thank you.
The CEO, my question on this relevant provision of the Constitution of revenues or other money raised or received for the purpose or on behalf of the government. Here, all entities or public institutions, they act on behalf of the government, and IEC is no exception. Then that means it is applicable to all public institutions. So by this provision, if there is a provision in the Election Act that contravenes this area, the interpretation of that particular law is null and void. This position will proceed on that particular law. Vice Chair?
Yeah. I think we still beg to differ. I see already Constitution 43.3, which is saying that it should be under any control or direction of anybody. Even our annual budget is sent to the official president. He doesn't have the powers to amend or to do anything otherwise to recommend. It's only National Assembly. So in keeping our funds, we are doing it during the operational times. So that cannot be divorced from operations. If they are saying the Public Finance Act, and we are saying the Elections Act, which differs, and again they call on Constitution, we also refer to 43.3. We saying that it's control, because if we control our finances, we are controlling our operations.
Commissioner, this is not an issue of control. You raise this fund, deposit it. If you deposit, it's entirely yours.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm on my feet, please. It's just a matter of procedure. If you raise, it should be reflected that this is the amount raised by IEC on top of the one approved by the National Assembly. Otherwise, you will not know the income that you generated. But it has to be reflective. Initially, the one that you budgeted was sent to the president. The president cannot check it. You only inform that this is what we've budgeted. Now it is only the National Assembly that can approve, and we have approved. And that's the fund that we are giving to you. If you have any extra fund raised, that should also be reflected, so that we know that this is an additional fund added on to what the National Assembly has approved. It's just that. And not to dictate and direct how that fund should be spent. But it has to be added to the consolidated fund. But that doesn't mean that an entity of government will be managing you, will be controlling you, or is managing you, or is controlling you. What is approved is this, we know it. If there's another additional fund, we should also know that this is additional fund. But that doesn't mean that that's a control way or it's a control mechanism. And that's where we differ. Section 43 is not meant for, it's for the control. But here, this what we are saying is that any extra fund that is raised should be put in the consolidated fund. That's what the law is saying. Any fund that you are going to have should be approved by National Assembly from the consolidated fund. And if you have extra fund also, should be deposited in the consolidated fund. It's only that.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for clarifying this point.
Thank you.
We don't have any problems with your argument, but procedure matters. Procedures that impacts on the operational independence of the IEC matters. We do agree fully with you. We should be accountable for all funds that are in our custody. We don't have any problem with that. And what I would firmly suggest as a way forward on this is try to make sure that we review these various conflicting enactments and make sure that they are aligned. And that responsibility falls squarely with the National Assembly. So that is the recommendation we are making here. We fully agree with you, Mr. Chairman. We don't have any problem with that. Accountability is key. Accountability and integrity are key elements. But our impartiality, our independence also should not suffer because of that, because of the important role we play. But we agree with you. But my suggestion is that let us try to see how we can review this law to make sure that they are aligned going forward.
Yeah, this is about just a matter of interpretation of these provisions. And then in National Audit, the way they are interpreting is that IEC, like any other public institutions, if you raise any fund other than what is approved by the National Assembly, should be paid in the consolidated fund. That's that. And this is not applied to only IEC. It's across the board, general. Even National Assembly, if we fail to, and then other than the ones that approved by the National Assembly, we have also raised funds. This provision will apply onto us.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think this is not this should not be an issue at all, in the sense that we do not act out of law. We have acted within the parameters of the Elections Act, and this is a law that is part of the laws of the Gambia, as dictated by the Constitution. So we are humbly asking the National Assembly to revisit all these laws so that we can have one law that cuts across all finances. But public finance is saying this, Elections Act is saying that in terms of finances. And we are an elections management body. When we conduct elections, we use the Elections Act to determine our actions. So please, we are appealing to you to reconsider reviewing this part of the Elections Act.
I don't know, CEO, Public Finance Act goes across the board. Anywhere you are dealing with finance, we cannot put aside the Public Finance Act. Election Act is one thing, the Public Finance Act is another. We need to marry both sides. Where we are dealing with finance, try to marry both laws, the Election Act and then the Public Finance Act. That one is purely on financial matters.
Mr. Chair, I think we also need to remind the CEO, because the reason why he's working as, he's doing all his financial transactions within, is guided by the Public Finance Act. And then also, let him be reminded that it's because of the Constitution and the Public Finance Act that he accepted to be scrutinized by the Public Finance Committee. You understand? And then again, the Public Finance Act and the Constitution supersedes the IEC law or any other law as alluded by the nominated member, of course you, the chair. So let him remind himself about that. This is what we want to remind.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we have delivered at this point something actually taking note of the points that you're making. And going forward, we'll try to make sure that we build on the recommendations of this August Assembly. But again, we still strongly believe that we are not acting outside the presence of the law, notwithstanding the fact that we agree to what you're saying, the issue of accountability and all that stuff. But Constitution supersedes all the other laws. We are not legal experts, and I would not allow myself, because I'm not been to a law school, to give a legal opinion on something that I do not master. In my area, I may venture to make very strong points, but outside my area, I wouldn't, because when it comes to the interpretation of the law, we know who is vested with those powers. That's why you have separation of powers. So I do not want to, but we take note of this, and going forward, and we'll try to make sure that we comply with this recommendation. But we still believe that we have not acted outside the presence of the law, and there is a need to revisit some of these laws to make sure that they have a lot of contradictions.
Yeah, I think let's admit that, yes, we have not acted outside the law, but that law is the Election Act. But the other law that supersedes the Election Act, that's the Constitution, you acted outside that. Let's accept that. I think it was basically you were acting on a law, but unfortunately, the other law, you were not acting on that. That is the Constitution. And that's why I keep on saying we need to marry both laws, the Constitution and the Election Act, or even, to an extent, the Public Finance Act, where the Public Finance Act requires to be applied.
No, Mr. Chairman, I would agree perhaps we have acted outside the presence of the Public Finance Act, but not outside the Constitution. That's a very serious statement. We have not acted outside the presence of the Constitution, and we will never.
Well, it is
no. We took an oath of office.
No, the provision of the Constitution I'm referring to, you refer us to Section 43.
We have never acted outside.
No, the provision of the Constitution in this context that I'm saying you acted outside is Section 150 of the Constitution.
Because you're telling us that we violated the Constitution. It's very serious.
Well, if you don't act on 150, that's the provision of the Constitution, then it's violated.
Well, that is the interpretation of this August Assembly, which we respect. But as an IEC, we strongly disagree with that interpretation that we violated any provision of the Constitution.
The provision IEC relies on is Section 43, and which, according to the NAO, and we understood, is not applicable in this case. What is applicable here is 150. If IEC is holding on the 43, and National Audit is holding on 150, which in our view, they have defended that is the relevant provision as far as this case is concerned.
Mr. Chairman, in my appointment letter, which was signed by the Office of the President, I was referred to those provisions that should guide my actions as member of the Commission. And that was the vote of office that I took.
Honorable Chair, so can you sit up so that you can close the mic?
Yeah, I'm saying, when I received my appointment letter, and when I took the oath of office, the oath was very clear, the relevant provisions of the Constitution that I was required to uphold were clearly stipulated in that letter and in the oath of office. And these are the provisions 42, 43. So if we had not complied with the other provisions, well, we are learning something new, and we will endeavor to ensure that we do the right thing next time. But we have not violated any provision of the Constitution based on our oath of office and also our letters of appointment. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think the Vice Chair keep on repeating this. You will admit one and then tell not to take admission of another. Let's accept the fact that yes, we took note of 43, but unfortunately, our interpretation, we rely on 43 instead of 150. I think this is where we had disagreement. We quite understood that we rely on 43 to the best judgment of IEC, but to the national audit, in this case, it should be 150, which in their view, and of course they defended it right, that was not applicable. So that is the thing. So 150 applies as far as this matter is concerned, not 43.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I just want to make it clear for the chairman. That is the vice chair. Because if you look at the audit process, like the auditors made a query, you responded by making a comment and quoting from the Constitution. They look at your response, and then again they also quoted from the Constitution, which is 150, and again from the Public Finance Act 2014. I think this is something that you could easily just understand and then accept the comment. Because you quoted a section, like for the 3 they quoted a section 150, plus the Public Finance Act 2014. I think we need to accept it.
No, thank you very much. I think we need to move forward on this. It's not going to spend the whole day running back on this. We'll take 2 minutes. we will take, we'll make sure that going forward, we will try to, as I initially stated, that any recommendation or any decision that helps to improve the work of the IEC and enhance accountability and integrity without impinging on its independence, we will take on board. So we'll take note and we will endeavor to do that. We are responsible people.
Thank you.
We are not just any other civil servant. We are public servants within the IEC, which is charged with organizing elections. Elections that determine the peace and stability of this country. I don't know whether some people appreciate that fact, but I just wanted to underscore that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I don't think we can just conclude with regards to what the Vice Chairman said, that we move on. He has to accept that the IEC have violated the law, which is the Constitution and the Public Finance Act. And again, for clarity purpose, the Vice Chair has to make it clear to the Public Finance Committee the reason why he believes that they have not violated the law. We have to know that first, and then from there we can conclude.
I think, yeah, that's what now he had on the table. That's, yes, I think that clarification was made, and I elaborated on that. That they were acting on 43, and in this case, it is 150 that should apply. So now he has taken note of that, and they will land on that in the way forward. They will act as recommended. So the recommendation will be coming from the National Assembly. So what we recommend is what that is saying that they are going to act on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for clearly articulating my position and the position of the Commission.
I think we can
Thank you very much.
proceed. So we are concluding on. Yeah. So, honorable members, that is for 311. We go to the next issue that has to do with the failure to use the general duplicate receipt GTR to collect revenue. Page 20. Are you there? The chief requested for the commission to provide them with receipt books supplied during the period 2020 to 23, but the receipt books provided did not meet the requirements of the financial regulations as quoted above in terms of the general template receipt books. These shall be used by the public office. And therefore, Audit recommended that the management should ensure that they desist from using any other receipt books to record revenue and restore to using the GPRs as any other institution with public service for reconciliation and accountability purpose. Management.
The IEC has used duplicate receipts without any audit query on this despite being audited in the past. Henceforth, general duplicate receipts shall be used as recommended.
And then on the action to be taken, the date, has the situation been regularized?
Yes.
Yes.
It has been regularized. Yeah?
Yes.
Yes, that's the question. So how?
By now using the duplicate receipts as recommended. We are not using duplicate receipts as recommended by the.
In the first place, why were you not using them before?
Like we said in our response, we've been using it before, we had no query.
You have not?
We've been using it in the past, but we didn't have any query, yes. But now that they've recommended it,
That's a query.
we've moved on to that.
Okay. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, that response is not apt. You shouldn't bid for audit queries. Can I ask, the duplicate receipts, how are you doing your file?
When we issue receipts, we bring photocopies, and the photocopies attached to the relevant payments. So
Which means, in principle, you were doing duplicates.
in principle, yeah, but not in practice.
Which means you were aware of the financial regulations. or in one way or the other, you were trying to satisfy the financial regulations. Because if you look at, 48.3, it says the receipting officer shall deliver the ordinary receipt to the payer, use the duplicates to support the accounting entries, retain the duplicate in the book. So the duplicate that should have been attached to the documentation was not there. That's why you were doing photocopies. No, the question is, it should not have been done. No, what I'm trying to say here, no, let's get this straight. Because at the end of the day, the entity also needs to look at something. The cost of making those receipt books against you making photocopies. We are looking at the cost-benefit analysis aspect. And there was an intent for the provision of the law. And we don't know which other things needs to be flagged by the auditors before you continue. So, Chair, for me, my question would be still we need a satisfactory answer as to why it was not. The question, the answer should not be based on the fact that it was not flagged by the auditors. The law is clear.
It has not been a query before.
Yes, that's really the answer. The law is there to provide guidance.
I think our response has been satisfactory anyway. I think we should assist.
Let me make this correction. Sorry. This is not the NAO. This is the National Assembly. Our responsibility is not only to strike a balance or look at what the auditors present to us, or what was the result of the interface with the NAO. The interface we are having now, I will tell you for free, don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. If that's your mindset, change it. Whatever you have with the NAO, just provide a basis for observation, but it doesn't constitute our mind. We use the evidence from NAO in accordance with the law and your responses to improve on your operations. So please give him back the mic. Let him have the mic. Can you give back the mic to the finance director?
Can I come in here?
Sorry, can you give back the mic to the finance director? I insist. Let the finance director answer. Who was the finance director by then? You were the one. Adam was. When you came in, did you change the system or you followed the system?
We changed it.
No. You changed the system.
When I came in.
When you came in?
Yes. He was director of finance. I was acting when they were doing the auditing.
You were?
The acting director of finance.
You were acting.
Yeah, doing the auditing.
What's your position now?
Still acting.
Still acting.
Yeah.
When did you start acting?
Last year. Before the start of the audit.
Before the start of the audit. So when did you eventually change it? Was it after the audit?
After this release of the management letter.
So which means, in effect, you were continuing with what he was doing, right?
Yes.
Was it that you were not aware of the financial regulations?
I was but because we ordered a lot of receipts from the utility corporation. And they had a lot of stock. So we ordered that we will not it out, but we already ordered this.
The receipt books you ordered, were they duplicates or duplicates?
Before.
Yes, were they duplicates or duplicates? Huh? They were duplicates. So you wanted to exhaust that start stock?
Yes.
And that was the main reason you didn't change. You could have told that to the auditors, rather than saying you didn't have an audit way. Thank you, Chair.
So what was his position on that?
No, what he is trying to say is, they were trying to finish the receipt books. But the issue of saying there was no audit way was not there because he was aware of the law. So to satisfy the provisions of section 48.3, they will always make photocopies of the duplicate and attach that to the documents for retention.
Mr. Chairman, in addition to what the Director of Finance just said, I would just like to clarify and admit that we were found wanting in complying with the regulation. We agree with that. That's why we've taken on board the recommendation to make sure that we comply with the relevant provisions of the financial regulation. That is very clear. We don't have any mindset here against anybody. Let that be clear. We're taking this August Assembly very seriously.
Honorable Chair, I think...
That is why we're here.
Sorry, Honorable Chair. Let's address the issues.
No,
I'm coming. Many times we keep on elaborating on those areas. I think the essence of this, National Audit Office has sanctioned by the Constitution to conduct this oversight. Institutions respond. But that doesn't mean that what they conclude on is binding. It is this body that is going to preside over that. What has the National Audit stated and what was the response of the institutions? And we strike the balance and take decision. So I'm coming. The only role that management or IEC has to do here, provide your management response as contained in the text. If at any point in time, National Audit has further query, and that is not responded to, then that's the time you can come in and make clarification or respond to those areas. Then allow the members to digest, nothing else. Nothing else. Just let them read what is in the management response. If there is any further comment to that from National Audit, National Audit also will read that. And if after the completion of the report, you have addressed those issues, then you will also given an opportunity to address. Then the members will now digest. We prepare them to take decision, nothing else. So let's avoid this situation of trying to, as if there is preconceived mind between the two. It's not about that. And I don't want to be delivering on that, please. Here.
Chair, I just want to raise a point of order. That will maybe perhaps help the vice chair and the vice chair in accordance with section 119 and 110 of the Constitution. With your permission, Honorable Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I will start with section 1192 of the Constitution. Section 1109 is the committees of the National Assembly. Section 1192 states, committees will be appointed A, to investigate or inquire into the activities or administration of ministries or departments of the government, and such investigation or inquiry may extend to making proposals for legislation, or B, to investigate any matter of public importance, and 3, for the purpose of effectively performing its functions. Each of the committees shall have all the powers, rights, and privileges as are vested in the High Court. At the trial in respect of A, enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them on both, affirmation or otherwise, B, compelling the production of documents, and C, the issue of a commission or request to examine witnesses abroad. And Honorable Chair, with your permission again, I would like to proceed to section 110 before I make my submission. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Section 110 is content of the National Assembly. Any act or omission which obstructs or impedes the National Assembly in the performance of its functions or which obstructs or impedes any member or officer of the National Assembly in discharge of his or her duties or affirms the dignity of the National Assembly shall be a content of the National Assembly. And in addition to any liability in respect thereof, under the criminal law, the offender shall be liable to reprimand or admonition by the National Assembly. And if the offender is a member of the National Assembly, suspension or expulsion from the National Assembly. Honorable Chair, the main reason I'm reading these two provisions is to really bolster the point you made earlier. What we are doing currently is sanctioned by the Constitution, and what we are doing currently is a constitutional obligation. And as stated by the Chair, we do it rationally. So the responses that are coming as well should be guided. Guided in spirit guided in purpose. That's very, very important. The committee will not like to use all opportunities you have. But for the engagements to be fruitful, IAC should know that this is intended towards the improvement of your internal operations. Otherwise, there are other opportunities in the Constitution that can be used. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, that's your hand?
Yes.
Who? See you?
Vice Chair.
I'm not seeing the vice chair. I saw the other hand there.
The Vice Chair, I'm just behind the lady.
Okay.
No, I thank the Honorable Member for reminding us of the relevant provisions of the Constitution. We fully agree with him. We have full respect for this committee, and that is why we are here in full force to try to respond thoroughly to all queries that you have. We don't have any doubt about that. We are here because of that, and you can count on us to make sure that, I had stated that the last time, that we are here to cooperate and to make sure that we respond thoroughly and appropriately to all the issues that we raise in the interest of accountability, integrity, and also moving this process forward. As I stated in my initial remarks, we are here to make sure that we take on board recommendations that can enhance the work of the IEC. I stated that clearly, and that's why I stated that we had started even implementing some of the recommendations without even waiting for the deliberations of this August Assembly. So we fully take note. We fully take note, and we have full respect for this committee. Please be reassured about that. Thank you very much.
See you, I saw your hand.
Yes, this point, please. I want you to say that.
Yeah, then henceforth, what I want IEC to do is to respond, give us the management response.
Thank you.
As in the text, if there is further comment from the National Audit, they will also present that. And if there are questions from members will be asking, and IEC can respond. That's as simple as that.
Noted, sir.
Thank you. Can we go to page 22? Am I right? That has to do with failure to recognize 40% of the sale of the bidding documents as income. On that, the findings, the receipt books for the period within the scope revealed that the IEC sold bidding documents worth 150,000 during the procurement process of voter registration equipment. Out of the total sum mentioned above, 40% amounting to 60,000 was retained. However, this was not recognized as income in the books of IEC as stipulated by GPA Regulations 2020, entailing the table. And therefore, the audit recommended that the management should ensure that the amount recorded above, that the 60,000, is recognized as income in the books of IEC. The management response.
40% proceeds from the sale of the bidding documents are recognized in the IEC as other income. The IEC is provided with the general ledger to confirm.
There is further comment from the audit.
Yes.
Auditor's comment. Evidence of the 40% of the sales in respect of the documents purported to have been recognized in the general ledger was not provided to the audit team up to the time of finalizing this management ledger, and hence this issue remains unresolved.
Well, in the response indicated that this will be provided and that the situation will be regularized immediately. This will be about 2023. IEC has the situation been regularized?
Yes. After we received this management letter, we have sanctioned the police investigation. So all this has been submitted as part of our evidence.
Education has the situation been regularized?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Regularized, and we also submitted. It has been regularized. We also gave the general ledger copy to the special investigation unit of the police.
Pardon?
It has been regularized.
How?
We said that we are going to provide you with the general ledger copy. So during the police investigation, we are asked to bring all these evidences.
I'm not referring to the police investigation. I mean, at the level of IEC.
That's what I'm saying. It has been regularized.
For this is 2023.
Yes.
We are in 24, 25.
Yes. It has been regularized.
It has been regularized.
That's what I'm explaining.
And my question is how?
They are saying that the income is not recognized. What we are saying is they recognize it in our books as other income. We didn't have a separate line for sale of bidding documents. But we have now notified that we have created a code for sale of bidding documents in case we have another bidding document, sale of bidding documents in the future. We didn't have it in our account books.
Yes. Yeah. My question was going to be the genesis of the financials is general ledger. So if your response is that the 40% proceeds from the sales of bidding documents are recognized in the IAC books as other income, was this disclosed on the face of your financial statements?
It's a bulk amount.
No. Are you Director of Finance?
No, I'm Commissioner.
Allow. This is purely financial.
Yes, the reason why I want to come in, I was once Director of Finance, not Commissioner.
Okay.
I'm now overseeing the department. The point the audit raised was the income was indicated there, but it was not specific. Like they were compiled together, bidding documents and other receipts were combined together and classified as other documents. The reason being that we are constrained by the Ministry of Finance because there are certain line items which we cannot create without having authority from them. But for even election, we don't have line item for election per se. So if you just look at maybe other convenient line items to chart of account, we put it there. But we don't have a specific like bidding documents in our revenue chart of account. This is why they put it on the other chart, other income.
But don't you have notes to your financial statements?
Is there, I think they've written that they are, but the auditors who are not satisfied with that, what they want was to see specifically this bid document with the code, which is not there.
Well, my question would be, did you disclose it in the notes? Like a line item in the notes to indicate that this bulk figure you are seeing as other income comprised of A, B, C, D, where the bidding document, the 40% retained is specifically highlighted. Did you do that?
Yeah, not to my knowledge, but when I was there, things like that, we used to do that. In our own notes, we indicate that this combination is A, B, C, D. But I don't know whether they have done that.
That's why I would like the finance director.
This was a special audit, so we didn't prepare any accounts. They just came in, they said they are auditing from 2020, 2020. We didn't give them any accounts. They said we were doing special audit on IEC elections.
Yeah, but they would have taken their departure points with regards to the disclosures you make in your financial statements.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
if at all, no, allow me, if at all such disclosures were in your financial statements, they would have been properly guided. So now my question would be, apart from this special audit, the financials that you prepared in your notes, can you give us, direct us to a particular area whereby the 50% is being disclosed in your notes?
I don't have it. Maybe a copy of the 2021 account, IEC accounts. Show the breakdown of other income. Usually constitutes statements, line items that are not specific. Let's say sale of big documents, repayment of loans, or any other income that has no specific line.
And you are sure this 40% is outlined there?
It's outlined, yes.
As a line item?
Yes.
Okay. Chair, maybe you should seek the minds of the auditors. Let them tell us exactly what they are doing.
Yes, national audit. Yes. During our audit, we reviewed the general ledgers, the ledgers for each of these years. But this particular transaction was the
related to 2020. But up to the time of finalizing, no information was provided regarding this recognition of this revenue in those 2 areas. That's why we also had this auditor's comment. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. My question is, if they were in the general ledger, how are you treating it? I don't know.
This should have come as other revenue, because it's not part of their normal cost of business. Yeah. It's as a result of selling bidding documents. It's a requirement as per the GDPA laws and regulations that once you sell bidding documents, you can retain 40% of the proceeds, and 60% goes back to GDPA. So that was the reason why we queried this.
Yes, you said failure to recognize the 40%. Do you mean to say that it was not added?
No,
it wasn't added into their incomes?
It was not in their books.
At all?
As income?
Yes,
At
as
all?
income.
As income?
Yes,
Not in the books at all.
It was not recorded as income.
I don't understand.
No, now my question is, you said that the 40% proceeds from the sales of bidding documents are recognized in the IEC books as other income. The IEC shall provide you with the general ledger to confirm this. If they were in the general ledger, the auditors would not say that we didn't recognize them, because at least the account would have been there. So the auditors are saying that it's totally omitted in your books.
What we say, the general ledger for other income. If you see the general ledger, like this ESI here, 50,000, smart book 50,000, and the fourth one, they're all there. Even this 60% payment to GPP, they have the evidence of that payment was go. So the 40% is, as Mr. Chair has said, we don't have a specific line item for sale of the documents. It's not as if something we do regularly. Something that happens maybe every 2-3 years. So it's not something that we create a line item for. It's not in our chart of accounts. So what we have is other income. That's where we post all other incomes that don't have a specific line item.
Did you verify that?
No, we didn't see that during our audit, because that's why we queried, and when they responded also, we went back to confirm this, but we are able to print this.
See, I want to make a request that even though you say the general ledger is submitted to the police, but as an institution, I know you must have the transaction history, not so. So I want to make a request that IEC provides those documents of the general ledger to the auditors for onward transmission to the committee. Yeah.
I think it is mentioned here that following the audit, there was a special investigation on this report, and they forwarded those documents to the investigative team. So probably he's referring to that. But as far as national audit is concerned, this was not brought to our knowledge after the audit. Thank you.
So the request is for IEC to provide the general ledger to national audit for onward submission to the FTA.
No, specifically the oil incomes, because he's saying that's where they put it, not it. We need the transaction history. You provide that to IEC and give them the breakdown. Sorry, you provide that to the national auditors.
Mr. Chairman, we will comply and we will provide. That's it.
Any further comment, member? Any other? Yes. Now, when it's provided to the committee, then committee will engage with national audit. Instead of national audit to the committee, then committee will seek the clarification of national audit.
I stand to be guided.
Yes. Any further comment? Can we proceed to 3.1.4 missing receipts? On that, the findings indicate that the reconciliations between the total amount of revenue recognized in the financial statement against the total amount of revenue recorded in the receipt books of the Commission for the period 20 to 23 revealed that there were missing receipt books revenue amounting to 4,575,000 recognized in the books of the Commission, and details are indicated in the table. And therefore, the audit reported that the management should ensure that all revenues collected are received as required by the financial regulations, and evidence of the receipts be provided to the audit team for review. And management responded.
The response says all payments to the bank shall be listed and receipt attached to the payment bank.
Action.
Can you complete?
That's question. This is the issue for all bank payments received.
I said, can you complete, please?
Officer responsible for immediate action, Commission, date execution will regularize immediately.
National Audit. Auditor's comment. Evidence of missing receipts totaling 4,575,000 was not provided to the audit team up to the time of finalizing this management letter, and hence this issue still remains unresolved.
This was at the time of finalization of the management letter, and you are saying that was way back 2023, National Audit? 2024. IEC, you did indicate that the situation will be regularized immediately. So what is the based on currently?
Actually, Mr. Chair, these are not missing receipts per se, but payments made directly to the IEC bank account, and which were not issued because payee did not come to collect their receipts. For example, during nomination, people pay their nomination fee deposit at our various regional offices or at the bank without bringing the receipt for, bringing the bank receipt for an official IEC receipt. Already, the monies have been logged into our IEC bank account, and we have this is factored, or it has appeared in the bank statements. But the receipts, speaking to those amounts received, paid to the bank, were not collected from the IEC because the payee did not come to the IEC to collect their receipts. So they have seen these amounts in the bank account, but they've not seen receipt issued to those payments. So already the bank statement is there and with all these payments. So this is the situation. So the actions to be taken subsequently, with or without a payee of any amount to our bank account, come to collect his or her official receipt, we will open a file called uncollected receipts and put it there.
Well, I think...
And we have also encouraged everyone who has paid anybody to demand a receipt or to come and collect his official receipt from the IEC.
Yeah, I think when we are responding to the queries, we should have that fundamental position, we should have put that first. If National Audit claimed them to be missing receipts, we should have indicated they are not missing receipts, but so and so. But we went straight to say all payments through the banks shall be received, and the receipt attached to the receipt voucher. Even whereas they are made to the banks, according to your management response, you should attach those to them. Then they will know that these payments were done directly to the bank, not necessarily they were missing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So the issue was on whether the situation had been regularized since it was concluded in 2024. Now in 2025, what is the situation?
Right now, we don't have any payment except party registration. Whoever pays for party registration will have to come and collect an official receipt from the IEC. Because the IEC is also discouraging receiving cash from anybody at its offices. We normally encourage any payments to be paid at its bank accounts. And whoever pays, we encourage you to come and collect your receipt. And for your information, the last party that paid, it's 1 million. We call it to come and collect officially. The issue has been fully resolved now. And subsequently, the rest as well. Any payment will give you an official receipt. If you don't come to collect, we'll even set aside the receipt in an uncollected file or uncollected receipt file. This has been noted.
Mr. Chair, he said that the issue has been resolved. We just want to be clear, when was the issue resolved? When did they stop collecting that thing or issuing receipts? And what name would have been given to this missing receipt, apart from the auditor's query calling it a missing receipt?
I will show you the term called uncollected receipts.
Uncollected?
So on demand receipt. So on issued receipts, because of the payee did not come to collect or demand for their receipt. Usually when we collect our activities, people all over the country, when they are supposed to pay, they pay to our bank account. And when you pay to the bank account, you should bring the bank receipt for the IEC to collect to collect your official receipt. So that is how it's go. This is why when this was flagged, we noted, and from now onward, even the last party that is about to be announced, I can bring their receipt. We just paid about just this month. We gave him receipt upon presenting to us his bank receipt.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at the findings and the implications.
Yes.
Because I find it difficult to reconcile your submissions against what the auditors are saying.
Yes.
The auditors are saying the reconciliations between the total amount of revenue recognized in the financial statements against the total amount of revenue recorded in the receipt books of the Commission for the period 2020-2023 revealed that there were missing receipts of revenue amounting to $4,575,000 recognized in the books of the Commission. Details are in Appendix A.
Yes,
look at the implications. No, just look at Appendix A. Let's look at the implications. It says, this is a risk of skimming or understating the revenue, as the revenue collected by IAC has no receipt as evidence that it has been recorded. And finally, they said the revenue figure is understated. So the question here is not about whether they have picked up the receipts or not. In effect, what the auditors are saying is, what you've recognized in your books as visitors' revenue falls short of what is in the finances. So there is an understatement.
Yes.
And I think that's where the conversation should be.
Like I said, Honorable, certainly there will be overstatement, in the sense that if in your bank account you have $20 million is there, when in your books you have $10 million there, because somebody paid to your bank account who was not receipted. So obviously there will be overstatement there.
Commissioner,
yes.
With due respect, don't you do bank reconciliations?
Of course.
When you do bank reconciliations,
as CEO said,
when you do bank reconciliations and you realize that your account is being credited with specific forms which are not debited in your cash book, what should you do? Whether the individual comes to collect the receipt or not is irrelevant. You recognize it in your books, you make the receipt and place it.
Exactly, as CEO said.
Okay, no, come. The moment you've recognized it in your books, whether that individual eventually comes to collect the receipt or not, that shouldn't affect your financials. You've recognized the revenue already. So it's not about the individuals that we are after here. Whether they've come to record, receive their receipts or not, that is irrelevant. What we are after is the recognition of the revenue.
Yeah, I think yes, what you said is true.
Yes.
Once there is reconciliation, human being, we are not perfect. Errors are bound to me. What was there as Director of Finance, I I did not leave everything entirely in the hands of my duty officers. Okay? Then Director who was there, maybe because of his, shortcomings, such things were not being monitored. But these were not an issue during my time. This is why we have been coming here in, year out, but things like this were not being coming. Once these amounts be discovered in our account, every month, end of the month, we do a reconciliation. I have not lived with them. He was my assistant then. We do our own internal adjustments once we did the reconciliation, whether we know the person who lodged money into our account or not, so that it could be reflected. Both the bank account and our internal records are at par. So maybe we must admit that the person who was in charge then was not doing what he's supposed to be doing. I think that's the issue then.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good afternoon. I think, of course, there should be a receipt. And I think accounts was using photocopies. Because most of the time, for election and everything, they send it by WhatsApp and it's printed, all the payments. Because some payments are done directly to the bank, and then the copies are sent to the regions, or through the regions to head office. I think it's an oversight. They have the receipt that this party paid this amount, but because the party members didn't come for their receipts, so they used that payment voucher or bank receipt attached to post it as an income in the ledger. So the error is that a receipt should be produced, but it's not produced. But then the voucher or the bank statement was used as both as a receipt and as a bank for posting, for doing the transaction.
Chair, do I still have the floor? Do I still have the floor?
Yeah.
Yes, I just want to hear from the Finance Director.
Yes, thank you. I think if you check the appendix, it's not even 4.7, it's 3.9.
No, let's get to the substance. Let's get to any of for that. Even if at all it is 1 million or 500,000 or 100,000.
What happened is the
Yes, let's get to the substance.
payments and let's say nominations coming from the regional offices. The money is deposited into the IC account, and then the deposit slip sent either through WhatsApp or when they are coming down, they bring it there. The right procedure should have been to draw the receipt. But the receipt was not drawn. That's when they discovered that these monies were recognized in the books, but they were not received.
Yeah, the issue is with the findings that the revenue recognized in the books have been understated. That is the issue now. Because that is the risk element we are all trying to run away from. The receipt there was to serve as a control, to ensure that there is no understatement to the revenue. So, if at all at the end of the day, even without issuing the receipts, the reconciliation was done and the revenue was recognized, that would have been a good setup. Even though it would not stop the auditors from making their recommendations. But now the issue is what we are running away from had happened. The revenue had been understated.
No, that's not. This is when you check the 2020 accounts. All these things are in our accounts.
Okay, let me ask the auditors now. Can you tell us? Because he's saying no. Can you?
As you can see in the appendix, most of these transactions were without receipts. So obviously, one reconciliation has become a very difficult thing because you can't reconcile now. How can you recognize without receipt? How will you be able to reconcile the accounts with the ledgers? So that's the problem here. So all these receipts were not provided for our review.
So, eventually, was the revenue understated or not?
Yes.
No, to the auditors.
Indeed, it was understated rather, because we cannot substantiate the balances without those receipts.
Yes, and that is the point. Okay.
When we provided you with the, how do you call it, when you were doing the 2020 to 2023 financial statements, all these things were there. We had registration of political parties as income. We had nomination fees. So if these things were in the financial statements, so if you're telling us we overstated by 4 million, and you've seen this thing in the bank statements, I'm really confused.
You know, we did this special assignment before the annual audits of the account. So at the time of the special assignment, these were not provided to us. So obviously, these were understatements. Maybe subsequent to the special assignment, they did those adjustments. But as at the time of doing the special assignment, we did the special assignment before the annual audit, and the scope is the same. But the time, there was a timing difference. When we concluded on the special assignment, it was the time we started the annual accounts, and there was a period in between. So obviously, probably they have adjusted. But as at that time, there are some issues with it.
So, sorry, I think we can draw a closer now. I just want to send that advice to the CEO. The CEO, ensure that they do monthly reconciliations. Okay, and then direct payments to the account should be received. Because they will always be captured on the face of the reconciliations. And again, Chair, I think we can do the verifications. We can verify and then look at the 2021 financials to really see whether these ones which are captured in Appendix A are highlighted in the 2021 financials.
That's the annual report.
Yeah.
We have that with the team what is pending is the activity report. We also submitted the activity report. The management data for the special audit. I saw another one. Yeah, but how about the activity report? It's with the IEC. IEC, have you submitted your activity report for the statutory annual report and the financial statement? So we have received your statutory financial statement. That is 2020 to 2023.
Yes.
But how about the activity report?
Hold on. We are waiting on you because we have already submitted even that of last week, which is not even discussed yet. So we have up to 2024.
No, but when this one is submitted, you will submit both. Yes. We cannot treat the financial statement without the activity report.
We were even expecting that our disappearance would go even into the activity reports. But when the letter came, it was just on
So this one is only for the special report.
Yes, Chair, please, I understand. So, but we have all.
The committee submit.
Thank you. We noted.
Activity finance statement and the management letter. How many copies? 30. Members, any further comment? Can we proceed to 26 or 27, rather? Failure to provide the list of disposed assets. The finding under the team has discussion with the acting finance director, and he informs the audit that some assets were disposed during the period of 2023. The audit requested for the list of the list in question rather, which were disposed of during this period. However, This information was not provided to the audit team, and therefore, the audit recommended that the management should provide the audit team with explanation what was the purpose of this grant. The management should ensure that they provide the list of the disposed assets to the audit team for review. And management responded.
Assets disposed were not only hazardous but obsolete, but also highly sensitive, such as voter registration documents and election materials that were acquired as far back as in 1996. Action to be taken, the list provided annex, officer responsible for immediate action of the commission.
Audit?
Auditor's comment. Details on the quantity, type, and value of assets disposed of was not provided up to the time of finalizing this management letter. Therefore, this issue still remains unresolved.
I see indicated the list provided in annex. Which annex is that?
Yes, this was when we said our responses. There was a list of assets that were disposed of.
Is this annex referring to annex in this text?
No, not annex in this text. Annex will respond. Annex will respond to our response to the National Audit Office.
Or the one submitted to the National Audit Office?
Yes.
Okay, and then they have responded. So, what is your take on their further comment?
Yes, like we said, these are highly sensitive and obsolete materials that were acquired as way back 1996. Please be rest assured that no vehicle, no land was obscene. It was just highly sensitive. We do not want any electoral document like the black and white cameras that we were using in 1996. And other voter registration form, they were in fact burned. Some were even buried, and even the old stock of the voter's card, the one that we used to laminate. So these were the election materials and voter registers that were disposed of, which has no value. We never wanted to flood into the market where it will be a scandal. So it was done in the presence of the entire commission and management. That went around the whole IC offices in the whole country and identified these materials before they were disposed of. And this disposal happened in 2024, which is also out of, we know, but we still reported it when they came that there was even disposal. But their audit period was from 2020 to 2023, but we reported to them that this happened in 2024, just to show them the transparency we attach to the assets of the IEC.
I think the concern was on the details on the quantity, the type, and then the value.
Yes, we gave them the list which has brought out all the details, the type, but there was no value attached, to be honest with you, in the transfer.
But again, if it were not only question on the value, yes, you are saying that only value was not attached, but they are still question the type and quantity.
Well, asset of 20 acquired in 1996, virtually would be a scrap value after 2024.
Yes, I understand will be a scrap, but what is important is quantity.
Yes, the quantities were mentioned in the list provided to them.
Yeah?
They were mentioned in the list provided to them.
But the auditor still question.
Well, I don't know, because all that I know is we have provided them the list when this query came in the first draft, and we provided them the list of the assets disposed of. And perhaps, I don't know where they're coming up from, but also...
Can I ask them for that clarification?
Certainly.
No list was provided to us up to the time of finalizing this management.
No list?
Because this is 2023, it is mentioned in 2024, but as per our audit, the query was related to 2023, not 2024. He said that they did the disposal in 2024. It was in 2023.
Honorable Chair, I think perhaps that's the confusion, because we told the audit team that the disposal was not during their audit period, but they still maintained. And we did not dispose anything between the period of 2020 to 2023. We disposed these materials in 2024.
That was before or after the audit, the special audit?
No, not after that is out of the audit period.
Out of the special
Audit period, yes.
That's not an audit?
Yes, we had discussion with the acting finance director at the time, not the CEO. Probably the CEO is coming up with this thing. But at the time of the audit, it was the director of finance that we engaged, and he told us that some assets were disposed in 2023.
If the then director of finance yes.
Or acting, yes.
When they came in, they asked for the minutes file, that's the commission minutes files. It's through the minutes that they saw that disposal was going on in 2024. When they asked me for the list, I told them that this is beyond your scope of investigation. But they still insisted. So we never disposed anything in 2020, and I never said that. When they even came, the first day we are in that process. They called them for a meeting, they say it's a special audit. We told them, give us a week. We have started the process of the disposal, but we never disposed. And I have not recorded any time saying disposal was in that audit scope.
Acting Director, I will read your response to me. You said on page 28, assets disposed of were not only hazardous and obsolete, but also highly sensitive, such as voter registration documents and election materials that were acquired as way back as in 1996. This speaks to the fact and confirms what the auditors are saying. If at all indeed your response to them was that the disposal is outside their audit scope, that's what happened in your response here. Your response is speaking something, is saying something different. The CEO can say that, but you as the acting director of finance, you cannot say that. You can't say that. The response you are giving us is speaking to the fact that the disposal was done between 2020 to 2023.
I think the response was, maybe it's misguided, but what you should have said was no disposal took place in the audit scope. That was straightforward.
So, I think I will check. The question now should be to the acting director of finance. Are you taking back this management response? You are not taking it back. Then now let's send our discussion on it then. If at all you are not withdrawing the response that we gave to the audit team, then we will settle a discussion on that. Then in that case, we will need the cost, the date of acquisition, and the quantity.
Yes, Honorable Chair,
Yes.
yes, for this response, we still stand by it, like the Commission has originally said, but again, it's out of the audit period. Because they've put it in the audit query. This is why the Commission deemed it necessary to respond to the audit query.
Yes, on that question?
Yes, the CEO.
Yes,
If you stick to this response, it means that you are speaking to the fact that the disposal happened within the audit period. Because you said, these are not our words, you said the assets disposed of. And that is in response to the findings of the auditors when they said the audit team has discussions with the acting finance director. That is the findings you are responding to. No, allow me. The finance director that he informs the audit that some assets were disposed of during the period of 2023. That is what you are responding to. So now if you are responding to that finding, and you said the assets disposed of were not only hazardous, and now you want us to take your new response that they are outside the scope, when the scope has already been defined by the audit, it cannot be both ways. If you stick to this response, then we'll go in for the list.
Honorable member, the commission has decided to withdraw this question.
That's for the chair to decide.
The commission has decided to.
Mr. Chairman, based on the discussions here we had, it is obvious that the disposal was done without the period. So in accordance with what actually obtained, we are withdrawing what we have in that statement and say that it occurred outside the scope of the audit period. I think it was not captured because based on my discussions with him, he said that he stated it, but it was not captured. But I think, to be honest to ourselves, and we have to make sure that we say the right thing and in a very truthful manner, it happened outside the scope of the audit period. And we do it with humility.
We can understand that means the disposal was done after the special audit.
Exactly.
Was that the case?
Outside the scope.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to depart.
Yeah.
So that means that can be found in the audit after the statutory annual report audit that you conducted for 2020 and 2023, which we are yet to review.
No, it will not be.
Or now up to 2024. It will not be.
Honorable Chair, it will not be found there because the scope is the same. The scope of the special assignment.
The scope is the same.
The scope of the annual audit is the same from 2020 to 2023. So once they said that it's outside the scope 2024, so it will be in the subsequent audit, maybe 2024 probably.
Okay, if it's not in 23, then that means 2024.
2024, yeah.
Okay, I concur.
Exactly, sir.
2024. CEO?
Yes, I concur. It should be in 2024.
Yeah. Honorable members, can we proceed to page 29 that has to do with failure to disclose details of ECOWAS grant. The finding on that, the discussion with the CEO about any grant received in the form of cash from the external bodies like AU and ECOWAS, the CEO confirmed that there was no cash grant received from external donors, or rather grants were received in kind. However, during the review of the ledgers, the audit noted that a grant of 534,000 was received from ECOWAS Commission or ECOWAS Mission, or details of this grant and how it was utilized was not provided to the audit team up to the time of finalizing the exercise contained in the table, and therefore audit recommended that management should provide the audit team with explanation as what was the purpose of the grant and evidence of how it was used. Response?
Contrary to some of the findings of the audit team, the Commission response with respect to support from development partners were grossly misrepresented by the audit team. We informed that all support or assistance received from development partners being phone transferred to ICFR or in kind were adequately documented and used on the conduct of elections as shown in the report which were made available to the team. Action to be taken, document all development partner support, officer responsible for immediate action, the Commission, take the situation to legalize whenever support assistance is received.
Audit, yes.
The audit team only received details of fuel support grant from the African Union amounting to 2,130,984. For the details of what the ECOWAS grant was meant for and how it was utilized was not provided to the audit team up to the time of finalizing this management letter. Therefore, this issue still remains unresolved.
I see. Yes, very good chair. Like respond rightly said, there was a gross misrepresentation and misquotation by the audit team. At first, when they met me, during the entry meeting, the first question, where is the money from the EU, ECOWAS, and the others? I told them that any form or assistance supported by any development partner should go to the IEC account. And I told them that I cannot sit there to say this was how much was received or not. Everything is recorded in the bank statement and the cash books. So that's one. This ECOWAS $534,000 was $10,000 that the ECOWAS sent to the IEC account to support in the 2022 National Assembly elections for COVID protocols. This was it. The IEC got the money and decided to use it. Any money that goes into the IEC account for elections is used on elections. We have bank statement showing the receipt of these $534,000 from ECOWAS. And this is part of the expenditure of the elections in 2022. And but for the audit team to mention a specific officer attacking, saying that he refused or denied them, that did not happen. That did not happen. And I think they don't audit an officer, they audit an office. So let them not go personal. I appeal to you, to their office, that audit is about an office for improvement, not an individual. Thank you.
I think when they agree the exercise, the officer is in charge is mentioned. With the finance director, with the CEO, with the chairman, that is the norm.
That's the norm, but also let them, I want them to speak to the facts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're concerned on mentioning the officer.
Yes, and the facts.
No, there are two things. You can agree on the facts.
Okay.
But for them to mention the officer, that's the norm.
Okay, that's the norm.
Yes.
But I mean, my second point is let them speak to the facts. Because as auditors, I want to believe that they should rely their work more on documentation rather than on PSC.
You said they did not rely their work on documentation.
Yeah, I am saying, Honorable Chair, maybe you don't understand this. Let me repeat myself again for clarity and for the record.
You can do that.
One, I am saying, I appeal to you, let them not use the officer's name. And you said that is fine. I agree. I added another one, supplemented to say that let them speak to the facts. What the officer said. Better than how. Because I did not tell them that we did not receive any funding from any donor assistance. I cannot say that. Because I know development partners support.
What did you say?
I said any support received is documented in the IEC banks and the cash book. And here what is being said in the findings is saying that the CEO confirmed that there was no cash grant received